The American people have had to sacrifice far too much.
Stop playing politics with people's lives.
If you have a pre-existing condition, they're coming for you.
Joe Biden wants to go back to the economic surrender to China.
What is influencing the president's decisions? On January 28th, the vice president and the president were informed about the nature of this pandemic. They were informed that it's lethal in consequence, that it is airborne. They knew and they covered it up. The president said it was a hoax. They minimized the seriousness of it. In spite of all of that, today they still don't have a plan. And our plan is about what we need to do around a national strategy for contact tracing, for testing, for administration of the vaccine, and making sure that it will be free for all.
The very first day, President Donald Trump has put the health of America first. He suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. If the president didn't take the unprecedented step of shutting down roughly half of the American economy, that we could lose 2.2 million Americans. The reality is, when you look at the Biden plan, it reads an awful lot. It looks a little bit like plagiarism, which is something Joe Biden knows a little bit about. President Trump and I trust the American people to make choices in the best interest of their health. We're about freedom and respecting the freedom of the American people.
You respect the American people when you tell them the truth. The American people have had to sacrifice far too much because of the incompetence of this administration.
China is to blame for the coronavirus. And President Trump is not happy about it. They did not let our personnel into China to get information on the coronavirus until the middle of February. Fortunately, President Trump, in dealing with China from the outset of this administration, standing up to China that had been taking advantage of America for decades in the wake of Joe Biden's cheerleading for China. We're going to hold China accountable for what they did to America with the coronavirus.
Trump administration's perspective and approach to China has resulted in the loss of American lives, American jobs, and America's standing. The trade deal, the trade war, they wanted to call it, with China, it resulted in the loss of over 300 manufacturing jobs. The 50 people who President Trump appointed to the Court of Appeals for lifetime appointments, not one is black. An American man was tortured and killed under the knee of an armed, uniformed police officer. We need reform of our policing in America and our criminal justice system, which is why Joe and I will immediately ban chokeholds and carotid holds. George Floyd would be alive today if we did that. We will require a national registry for police officers who break the law.
There's no excuse for what happened to George Floyd. Justice will be served. But there's also no excuse for the rioting and looting that followed, that you hear consistently from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that America is systemically racist. And that, as Joe Biden said, that he believes that law enforcement has an implicit bias against minorities, is a great insult to the men and women who serve in law enforcement. And I want everyone to know, who puts on the uniform of law enforcement every day, that President Trump and I stand with you.
Donald Trump paid $750 in taxes. We now know Donald Trump owes and is in debt for $400 million. And it'd be really good to know who the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, owes money to, because the American people have a right to know what is influencing the president's decisions. And is he making those decisions on the best interest of the American people, of you, or self-interest?
The American people have a president who's a businessman, he's a job creator, who's paid tens of millions of dollars in taxes. And the president said those public reports are not accurate. And the president's also released literally stacks of financial disclosures the American people can review just as the law allows.
You have Donald Trump, who measures the strength of the economy based on how rich people are doing, which is why he passed a tax bill benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations of America, leading to a $2 trillion deficit that the American people are going to have to pay for. On day one, Joe Biden will repeal that tax bill. Joe is going to invest that money in what we need to do around innovation. Joe Biden will use that money to invest in education.
The average household income for a family of four increased by $4,000 following President Trump's tax cuts. And Joe Biden wants to go back to the economic surrender to China, a time where we're going through a pandemic that lost 22 million jobs at the height. We've already added back 11.6 million jobs. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to raise taxes. They want to bury our economy under a $2 trillion Green New Deal, which you were one of the original co-sponsors of in the United States.
If you have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, they're coming for you. If you love someone who has a pre-existing condition, they're coming for you. If you are under the age of 26 on your parents' coverage, they're coming for you. On the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who was responsible with President Barack Obama for the Affordable Care Act, which brought health care to over 20 million Americans and protected people with pre-existing conditions. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who's in court right now, trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which means that you will lose protections.
President Trump and I have a plan to improve health care and to protect pre-existing conditions for every American. More taxes, more regulation, banning fracking, abolishing fossil fuel, crushing American energy, and economic surrender to China is a prescription for economic decline. President Trump and I will keep America growing. The V-shaped recovery that's underway right now will continue with 4 more years of President Donald Trump. President Trump and I could not be more enthusiastic about the opportunity to see Judge Amy Coney Barrett become Justice Amy Coney Barrett. She's a brilliant woman, and she will bring a lifetime of experience and a sizable American family to the Supreme Court of the United States. And we particularly hope that we don't see the kind of attacks on her Christian faith that we saw before.
We're literally in an election. Over 4 million people have voted. People are in the process of voting right now. And so Joe has been very clear, as the American people are. Let the American people fill that seat in the White House, and then we'll fill that seat on the United States Supreme Court.